Hey, it's Monster, one half of your dynamic hosting duo of the Nerdy Man Room Show. Proudly bringing you another Man Room Short. Enjoy, and as always, please remember, viewer discretion is advised.
I guess this takes us directly into our next topic, which is um, you know, ideology on collecting, and what do you collect? Because for me, I collect a lot of the toys, but I've also started looking, and I've watched a few of those shows, like the hoarder shows and stuff like that, just every now and then, just to see some of the people's collections of stuff. But then they're like, they'll have the therapist on there telling them, hey, if you pick one line and collect just it, you could have more of it. You could sell this other stuff off. And I've always wondered, is it better to collect just one thing and get all of it? Because there was a time where I got to where it was, I tried that for a while. It was just Green Lantern stuff because that's one of my favorite things. And I had an entire room just, there was 2 walls in the room just full of Green Lantern Mentone card figures and stuff. And I was like, you know what? Never going to have every one of these they make, and I'd like to have some of this other stuff too that feel like I'm missing out on. So I stopped doing that, and I sold some of those off and downsized that a little bit. But I started picking up other things as well. And for me, I have favorites that I buy, and when I buy a property, if I start looking at one property or the other, so, am I going to collect the entire thing, or am I going to collect just favorites? And then
I came to terms with that a long time ago. With what you're saying right there, you're never going to be able to have every single piece because no matter how well you do it, there's going to be an exclusive somewhere drop that, for whatever reason, it sold out in 90 seconds. It's a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. You're not at San Diego Comic-Con. You have no, you know what I'm saying? So you're never going to be complete. And I guess my comic collection taught me this because, I'm a huge Amazing Spider-Man fan. Huge Amazing Spider-Man fan. But I realistically know I can't get a complete run. I don't care how wealthy I get. I'll never have a complete run of this. So I went with, and this is how I've kind of started building my collection in the last 10 years or so, key pieces. I mean, if something really tugs on me, like comic-wise, I've started buying first appearances that I can afford that are CGC.
Yeah.
I try to get as high grade as I can, and it would be in a first appearance, and I go that route. I'd rather do that than try to have every single issue of Amazing Spider-Man or Uncanny X-Men or so forth and so on. So I mean, I've got a lot of Silver Age to Bronze Age first appearances and CGC now. Probably one of my more prouder ones is the first appearance of Hobgoblin. That's such an iconic cover, tearing the Spider-Man suit. That's legit for me. So I kind of went that route with figures as well. I mean, I'm not gonna have every single figure of every line, so I kind of cherry pick, so to speak.
So you sound
and I had to cancel some stuff recently too to I see some other stuff come out because like when the 03 they do amazing, biggest 1/6 scale figures. They're beautiful. And they announced they were doing a Power Rangers line. And the first thing I did was I gobbled up, the Red Ranger, the Green Ranger, the White Ranger, and then Dakin. And I was like, you know what? I don't have shelf space for all this stuff.
Exactly.
So I did cancel the Red and Green Ranger. I kept the White and I kept Dakin or Draken or however you say it. I kept those two, but I did, you free up $100, $200 between these two figures. I'm like, I can go buy 4 NECAs for what one of these here cost. And so that's kind of how you have to do it nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, you sound like you have the same philosophy I do. It's like I'm not a one property person. I tried it for a while. It wasn't me. I need to do the mini because I love so much of that stuff. And I'm, me. I've got an entire storage shed full of comic books. You can't even walk in the door for it because I've collected them since I was so young. And so when I look at properties, whether it's cartoons or toy figures or whatever it is, collectible wise, I'm like, there's too many that I want something of. But now when I go into one, I look at that property itself and say, okay, this property, what am I going to get? So like Transformers, I went for Transformer Masterpieces, which you see behind me, and they're third party as well as official to card. I mean, it's a combination, but when I went into it and I bought a few of them, I was like, oh, these are really nice. I think I'm going to get more of them. After I tested out those first couple, I said, okay, this is my limits. This is what I'm going to get. So at some point, this collection of this is complete. And I said, I'm going to do seasons 1, 2, and 3 of Transformers. And I did that, and the only thing I added after that was the Junior Headmasters, which were made as toys for Generation 1, but never shown on U.S. television. They were Japanese television only. That's the only thing besides Seasons 1, 2, and 3 I've added in, and I've said, okay, I'm going to get these, and then once this is over, I'm done with them. I'm waiting on 4 pieces of Defensor, and nobody's made a Computron or a Broadside, and once those are finished, I'm done with that set. I'm not buying any more masterpieces unless somebody makes a really good one to swap one out for.
They're far more accurate than what your G1 counterparts are.
Oh, yeah.
And at a fraction of the cost, because if you go try to buy a Galvatron G1 or a Megatron Starscream, Optimus Prime, maybe you could afford a little more just because they flood the market with him so much. But, if you were to try to just find a Jazz complete, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's ridiculous. To where you can go buy a third party or MP version for $100, $200 at the max,
Yeah. But I put limits in place of what I was gonna spend on any of them, and when I'm gonna stop. I have an idea of when to stop, and once I stop, the only thing I would be doing is if they come out with one that's a much more accurate one than one I might have, maybe I'll swap it out and I'll go sell the old one and I'll buy the new one, to replace it. You get some of my money back, but I look at other properties too, like G.I. Joe Classified. I'm buying only the Joes or only favorite characters because I just can't afford. There's too many characters in G.I. Joe to afford to buy all of them. And then when I look at, do I want to do a display where I take them out of the package, it becomes only favorites at that point, right? So I'm looking at them right now across from me, and I have all the G.I. Joes they've made so far that have come out, including Breaker with his ramp cycle. Barbecue's the only one not here yet, and he's supposed to be here Monday. But as far as buying them to take out the package, Duke, Flint, Snake Eyes, Beachhead, and Barbecue. The rest of them, Scarlet, Lady J, Gung Ho, Roadblock, they're staying in. I'm not buying a second one to get out because it becomes too expensive at that point, right? And then I look at other stuff like Thundercats. I'm only buying the cats themselves. So once I get all 10 Thundercats, I'm not buying any more of that Super 7 set. Now, I will give Super 7 props too. They have a great marketing model where they say, we're going to get you all the cats, but we're only going to do 2 in each set. So if you got 10 cats, you got to buy at least 5 waves of these things just to get all of them, right? So they've got that planned out. And that's a great marketing model to keep you coming back.
And you're finally getting because in the past they've, marketed cats that wasn't the ones you wanted. Like we've legitimately never got a Tiger, a Chitara, in a masterpiece form like this.
Yeah.
Now, and I'll commend them. I'll give them props. I'd far rather them do what they did with Chitara versus what they did with Panthro, where they had to release him and then later we'll send you this bag of shit to make him right.
Yeah, but even doing that, though, I thought that was commendable too, because they could have said,
yes,
sorry, you got what you got, but they didn't. And I'll say,
the greatest slide looks, I've seen where there's been some issues with people where they took them out and there's like some paint discoloration in a few spots where the strap runs.
Yeah.
They have released a statement and they said, hey, look, if you reach out to us, send us a picture, we'll make it right with you. So, I mean, their customer service is great.
And I'll give Hasbro that too, because I bought for my Lightning collection, and that's one of the ones where I'm buying every figure they're making because, and I might have to change that because I started out with just, okay, we're going to do this many, then 3 months later we'll do another 4 or 5, and then another 4 or 5, but now it's getting to where they're doing them so regularly, it's getting harder to keep up with getting all of them. But so far I have got them all, including the SDCC exclusive.
Do you feel they're doing that to try to compete with Super 7?
No, because Super 7 only has a license to do Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. So everything else Hasbro's doing every other series. Like they just dropped an exclusive yesterday for Power Rangers in Space Silver Ranger, which I kind of complained about because they made no announcement. And it is an exclusive that's going to Walgreens and Hasbro Pulse only. And the Hasbro Pulse sold out within a couple of hours. Luckily, I got one because I just looked across it because there was no announcement during any of the events they've had in the past week. But, when I bought a White Dino Thunder one, which was a exclusive for Walgreens, there's supposed to be black paint around the visor on his helmet. It's supposed to be white with a red visor and then black paint around the red. They didn't paint the red or the black. Didn't paint the black line. So as soon as it dropped and people were, the first time they heard a hint of it, they said, call us immediately. Here's the thing. And I emailed them and they said, okay, just send us a picture of your receipt and where you bought it. And then I was like, well, I don't have the receipt because I just bought it and I didn't know you were going to do it. They said, oh, we don't even need the receipt. Just send us a picture that you own the figure. So I sent a picture that I owned the figure. A few days later, they reached back out and said, "Hey, this is in the mail. Here's the tracking." And they sent a proper head to put on that. It comes in a little Ziploc bag. And obviously, I'm not opening the figure because I'm a Mental card with those, but I have it with the figure. So if I ever did want to resell or if I ever did choose to open it, I've got the right colored head now where they painted the black lines on it. But, everybody's trying to do those things. But, it's just kind of interesting to see how different people are collecting different stuff and what they're collecting. But in that regard, since we've been talking about, what's your ideas of the collecting and all, I think one more thing on that I wanted to hit before we moved on was, what do you look at when you're looking at them and say, okay, yeah, so I'm a huge Power Rangers collector. I got a ton of them, different types, Bandai as well as Lightning collection from Hasbro, but like the 3-0 or is it 0-3 or 3-0, whatever it is.
0-3.
Yeah, 0-3. I looked at those and I thought they looked great, but then I looked at the price tag and I said, okay, my limit on buying the Power Rangers, I'm not going to the 1/6 scale. For one, I don't have a lot of room for it, but for two, I can't afford $600 to get all 6 of the original Rangers, which is what they're doing right now, and still keep buying the other stuff. So, what is your deciding factor on one of those? Is it just based on what it is, or is it based on price as well, or?
Price factors in. I mean, don't get me wrong. I do look at things and say, ooh, but to me, as a collector, I look at what memory it brings me back to. Certain characters just, stir that nostalgia within you. The Green Ranger himself, why I love Power Rangers. The Green Ranger himself, he's just going to forever be my dog. So I try to get as much Green Ranger stuff as possible. And I will say Bandai done a lot better job with their legacy stuff than Hasbro has done, like with the Dragon Dagger or the Saba. Their Zords are so far superior than what Hasbro has done. So I haven't touched any of the Hasbro things that they've done to market afterwards. Like I got the Bandai version that's the communicator of the White and Green Ranger. I got that and the Morpher and things of this nature. But Hasbro wise, the figures were spot on amazing. So I try to get all the Tommy figures, as much Jason as I can get. And it's just certain ones. Like I don't have to have the original 5, but I do want all the Tommies, and I have every version of Tommy they put out. I got the putties. Zed was a must. Goldar was a must. I didn't get their version of Rita. I wasn't a fan of it. I did go that route on Super 7 because their version just it looked great to me. It's the only Super 7 Power Ranger I bought.
It did, and all of their stuff that they've made for Super 7 looks good. That's where I was talking about kind of some of the limits. Like I didn't go in for Super 7 only because I was like,
the Rangers look too cartoony. I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah, and there is a difference between a 6 and a 7-inch figure. It's not a whole lot, right? But there's not. They're fighting for the same shelf space, and I only have a limited amount of shelf space. So then I looked at it and said, okay, I've got a limited amount of shelf space. I got to decide between continuing with Hasbro or swapping the Super 7. And then I looked at Super 7 and said, well, they're only doing one property. Out of their 28-year run, Hasbro's doing them all. And then the next thing I looked at was with the price. I was like, for the price of one of those, I can get 2 of the Lightning collection. I'm just going to stick with where I'm at. And I had to do that with other stuff as well. But, I mean, there's certain properties.
A lot of the Joes, I've stuck to my favorites. Like, I didn't waste time with the Cobra Trooper. I didn't waste time with the Cobra Officer. I mean, the Cobra Officer looked great in his reveal the other day. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just, what I'm saying? As a character, I have no stock in. Well, I'll buy the Crimson Guard if you're damn right, and I'll buy 2 Crimson Guard. I mean, there's certain ones like Firefly. I bought 2 of him. I got 2 Vipers. Because I had they were some of the ones I had to open.
Yeah, and I've done the same. But I look at some properties too. Like I love Thundercats and Silverhawks, and I wish I could buy 2 of each of those and open them of the Thundercats and the Hawks themselves. Now, I'm not invested in the villains of the series,
but to open one.
Yeah, it's not worth it. I can't do it. But speaking of that, and we don't have a lot of time left in this segment, but one thing I did want to go through in this segment while we're talking about this is what would you say is your top 3 to 5 collectible lines that you have to, I know you pick certain figures out of each one, but what is the top 3 to 5 that you try not to miss anything out of?
Current, or are we talking like all time?
I would say current because I'm looking more at, like, what you're collecting now, because you can go back and buy stuff, but that if you're like me, I have a small superpowers collection and I have almost every member of the league. I'm lacking 4 of them. Some of these I've had since a kid, some of them bought in later years, but that's something I have to go back and occasionally, once every couple of years and buy one because they get so expensive. But there's certain things we continue to collect now regularly, but what would you say are the ones that you continually look for and try to buy out of right now that you think are not just the ones you really want, but have some of the best quality too?
Right now, my go-tos that I stick with the NECA horror collection. There's very little NECA puts out that I don't buy horror wise, and I don't so much open them because they come with the display. The door opens, you got a good view of the figure, and they got limited mobility anyway, so to speak. They got points of articulation, but they come with a great deal of accessories and stuff. They look really cool, but they display very well that way. And I kind of set them in my case, side by side, almost like VHSs.
Yeah, and since you mentioned the NECA ones, just out of curiosity, because I actually don't think I own any NECA figures. I thought about getting the turtles in those just because they're cheaper than the Super 7, but then you've got Loyal Subjects making turtles now, which are even cheaper than that, and they look very cartoon accurate.
I'm glad you brought that up. I know it's not all on this subject, but I will say Loyal Subjects, their turtles look like shit. I was not a fan of what their turtles look like. They look like shit. But their Shredder, Bebop, Casey Jones, and there was another one. Was it Rocksteady? I'm not sure if it was Rocksteady.
No, it wasn't Rocksteady. It was. Was it just a Foot Clan soldier?
I know it was their Shredder, Casey Jones, and Bebop.
Yeah, there was one more.
And at $20, dude, that's hard not to buy those.
Well, the turtles don't look fantastic overall, but you know what? They look very cartoon accurate. For the price of them versus Super 7 for the cartoon accuracy, I'm almost tempted to buy the Loyal Subjects ones just because the price.
I got a feeling they're going to put a huge dent in the Super 7. I mean, I'm very tempted to buy the Bebop and the Shredder and maybe even the Casey Jones. I mean, $60 there for all 3 of those. That's one Super 7 figure.
Yeah. But before we get too far from the subject on those NECA figures, do you actually have any open? Because I always hear horror stories of their articulation being it's supposed to be like this and they fall apart.
I've never had any issues with them falling apart. I have a handful that I've actually opened to display. They do pretty well. I said they have a limited range of motion. They're not going to do. You're not going to pose them in just any body slamming way. However, I mean, you can pose them in a lot of the iconic stuff you want to do. I haven't had any arms fall off or legs, or heads. So maybe the ones I've opened, I've just been blessed on. But I mean, I have read stories where, you try to lift the arm and it pops out.
Yeah, you always hear horror stories of their stuff, but I don't own any of theirs, so I really don't know how it is. I
own a great deal of it, but the majority of it's in the box. So, but what little I've opened, I've had good quality. So, I even bought the Super Shredder of NECA. I mean, I know it's off the horror path, but I did buy their Super Shredder.
Now, he looked good. But besides NECA, what are some of the other ones you pick up?
Marvel Legends, of course. I mean, they're doing some really great quality right now. You're getting figures you wish you had when you were 10 years old now. I mean, that's just they got the adult collector in mind. As much as they're supposed to be for kids, the adult collector's more in mind. WWF Legends, or WWE Legends, so to speak. I buy their Legends figures. I don't buy none of their current shit. But if they produce a cool looking Macho Man, Bret the Hitman Hart, I have to get I try to get every Bret Hart figure I can. They're doing a lot more Hulk Hogan now, so I'm guessing he's finally forgiven and back in the fold because they're starting to release a lot of Hogan stuff in a short span here. So I stick to the Legends. Masterpiece Transformers. I mean, I got a huge case in the living room full of the stuff. I need another case because I'm fixing to start. I got a few more pieces coming. And lastly is the Hasbro, a slash between the Rangers and the Star Wars Black Series. I'm really I don't buy everything Black Series. Don't get me wrong, but the key figures, your Luke's, your Boba Fett's, your Han Solo in the Carbonite, Obi-Wan, Vader, things of this nature. I get those. I don't try to get the troopers. The one I slept on, I kind of is the Emperor in the throne.
Yeah.
I kind of wish I'd have got that now. Originally, it might have been an exclusive, and now they've got a version that's not exclusive. But yeah, that's mine. What are yours?
Well, first, just to agree with one of yours, I get Marvel Legends, but it's limited items. Like I buy, when you see the video later, you'll see some of my stuff. Like I go for X-Men a lot because I'm a huge X-Men fan, but it's favorites. Like I'm gonna get the Summers Clan because I'm fans of Cyclops, Havoc, and all of those characters. Sunspot, Cannonball, some of the oddball ones that were from New Mutants and stuff. But a good bit of those. I've got just a handful of Iron Man. I mean, they make one every wave just about, so I don't buy all of them. I only buy my favorites, the New Warriors, a few others. But you'll see more of those. I keep boxing what I open, but I do have a few that are open, like a New Warriors collection. I've got a X-Force and X-Factor, 90s X-Factor team put together, and I go through a lot of those. But I don't buy every figure they make because I don't need Anaconda or whoever else they're making from the Serpent Society and stuff like that. But beyond that,
there's an collector out there somewhere that wants that. I mean,
yes. And
either that or the damn designers really want these figures, and they say, you know what? The only way this is going to happen if we get this guy.
Oh yeah. Then I get stuff like Super Sevens, Thundercats, and Silverhawks, and I'm just doing the Thundercats and just the Silverhawks themselves, and that'll eventually end. But I figure I've probably got another good year and a half on those before they get through all of those.
So you didn't get Mumra or Monstar?
No, I did not. And I actually the one I really debated about though. Again, I don't collect a lot of the villain stuff, but the ones I really debated about on that was Snowman of Hook Mountain, just because he's an ally. But then again, I said nope. I'm going to stick to just the Thundercats to preserve my wallet some, and that's it.
So it's not even groomed, seeing as he comes with a Thundercat.
I debated on him too, and I said no. I did pass on him.
Wow, I commend you, G.
I think out of the core Thundercats, including the extra ones added in later, Linkso, Bengali, and Pumira, I think they've only got 4 that they haven't put into a wave yet for pre-order. So I think the Kittens, Wily Kit, Wily Cat, Bengali, and who was the last one? Or was that the last one? That might have been the last one. I'd have to look at it now. But I think that's all.
Bengali was only extended cat we hadn't already got before.
Yeah,
which was kind of surprising that you had the older. Well, I forget what his name, and then Lynx or whatever. You have both of those in the previous Matty Collector versions.
Yeah.
And they've already announced them here, but you know what? We're just now getting Tiger. We're just now getting Chitara.
I mean, yeah, and I get it. They're trying to spread out for the different collectors, right? But I get those, and then the Silverhawks. My other big lines is Power Rangers Lightning Collection. That's probably the only line I collect the villains from too, because I've got every character they've done in those so far, all the monsters, all the 2-packs. I take that back. I did not buy the Putty and Green Ranger 2-pack. Nope, I take that back. I do have that one. I do not have the Putty Patrol 2-pack. That's the one I don't have because there was a single pack Putty, and there was a Putty in there with the Green Ranger, and then there was a Zed Putty, and I was like, I'm not buying that 2-pack as well.
I have the Zed Putty, and I have the Putty with the Green Ranger. I got those two.
I've got both of those. I just did not buy the Putty Patrol 2-pack they did. That's the only thing I don't have. I even have the San Diego Comic-Con Red and Gold Ranger exclusive, and I keep looking over at them if y'all are wondering what I'm looking at. But
I'm a little jelly of that. I'm going to be honest. That's something I didn't even realize they had done it until you showed me a picture, and I was like, you know what? How the fuck did I not get this?
Well, and then it went on sale for Hasbro Pulse with a limited quantity they had left after San Diego Comic-Con. They had less than 5. They had to because they sold out within 90 seconds. I didn't get it there. I had to pay aftermarket prices for it. That's probably my biggest line, and then my most expensive line is probably the Transformers Masterpiece. And they're not all masterpiece in the term of I'm using masterpiece as a generic term, but that's just the style. The official masterpiece.
The scale of them. They're not in the 6-inch.
Yeah,
Walmart the official on the shelf scales.
The official masterpiece is Takara Tomy, but I'm buying third-party ones as well as some Takara Tomy, and again, I'm getting close to finishing that.
Some of those are just as nicer, honestly. I mean, they're really great. I've got my Megatron and my Galvatron are both third party, and you know what? They look just as amazing in there with the rest of them.
A lot of times they're better, to be honest. There's very few times I would pick Takara over any of the others. I just get the Takara ones if they're officially licensed.
My Rodimus Prime, he is a third party because I have the Evil Rodimus, and he is the official Takara Masterpiece version. And if you put him next to my third party Rodimus, third party Rodimus blows him away. And they would be the same body mold if he were the good version. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's why I said it's a mixture of the two. But I've got some that but that collecting again is almost over with because once I finish Defensor and a couple others that they just haven't made yet, I'm done with those. I think did I mention G.I. Joe Classified? That's probably the only other line that I'm really excited about. That as soon as something drops, I'm like, oh, am I going to buy that or not? But it's only the Joes. Again, I'm trying to get all the Joes in the package. That they may overrun me with that at some point, just because they do have such a plethora of people they can pull from. But so far, I've been able to keep up with that in the package, and then I'm just opening just a handful of them.
Just random question: out of the Joes that haven't been produced yet, which two would you like to see produced before the end of 2022?
Shipwreck and Dialtone.
Okay.
And I know I was quick with that.
Really sweet with that backpack and everything. That was always a favorite as a kid.
My favorites as a kid was always Duke, just the character. Now I never had the original Duke. I had the later one where he had like the red vest and the crop top hair and all. Yeah. But my favorite characters that I had as a kid besides him were Barbecue, and I had both Barbecues, the regular and the Slaughter's Marauders. Barbecue where he had the camo.
That was another of the ones announced. That just hit me.
No, that's fine. And then some of my other favorites as a kid were Spirit. I really liked him. I really liked Cutter and Shipwreck for whatever reason. I think I liked Cutter just because I like to put him in the. I always wanted the hovercraft and never had it. But do
you almost feel like that when they release Bazooka and Alpine, they need to be a 2-pack?
Yes. I
would totally buy that.
Them, and then I'd like to see a 2-pack of Leatherneck and Wetsuit. Because they were always together as well.
I would buy both of those 2-packs. Joe-wise, I mean, I want to see Deep Six and probably Quick Kick will be my two.
Quick Kick's one I never had. I always wanted, so I'd like to see him. I always forget about him because I never had him as a kid.
Cobra wise, I mean, they pretty well covered the bases. I've been like clamoring, like, when are we getting Crimson Guard? When are we getting a bat? Now we're finally getting those. They've been announced. Yeah. Zaymont and Tomax are my others. So Cobra's pretty well covered their bases. Probably the biggest one that they haven't done for me is the Techno Viper. That purple suit just with the backpack, I mean, that just looked really cool. Or sci-fi for the Joes will be pretty neat, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be too far away from those, but they make a big deal out of getting some core characters and then doing some offbeat ones just to keep the collectors interested and coming back. So I think we'll see a lot more from them.